So, as you can see, folks, we have a very special guest joining us today, and it's none other than Mr. Simeon Jackson himself. Firstly, Simeon, thank you very much for your time. How are you? How are things?
Thanks for having me, Simon. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, just getting home here in the evening and getting ready for the weekend, really. So yeah, how are you?
Yeah, most things under control, man. I appreciate it. Thanks. Not a lot of people know this, but you were actually born on the island of Jamaica. So, just wanted to know from you your early experiences. How old were you when you left Jamaica to for Canada, and do you have any memories at all about being on the island?
Oh yeah, yes. So I, as you say, yeah, I was born in Kingston. I was born in Jamaica and moved to Canada when I was 3 years old. Um, so my first memories of Jamaica were kind of distant memories. I just remember where we grew up and where my parents lived was in Kingston 5. So if you could imagine, we had my older sister, I had twin brothers, and a younger sister that came on later on. But we were there was, yeah, I guess you could say five of us, six of us in a two-bedroom apartment. And in in that time, everything was outdoors as you do. So I just remember running up and down, um, in the apartment and just loving life really, as a kid, as memories go, when you're young, only being three. But I did go back a couple of times. So as I was growing up, I always had, fond memories of Jamaica and growing up there.
All right, sounds good. And when you were in Canada and like you had vacation from school, would you come to Jamaica for the holidays, summer break, Christmas break, stuff like that?
So not initially. So I think funny enough, my first trip back that I could fondly remember was when my parents got married. And I must have been maybe nine or 10 maybe. Maybe a bit younger than that. And that was kind of the first time that I'd gone back and gotten to kind of reconnect with my roots really. But even growing up in Canada, I had my grandfather and I was living with my aunt and uncle. Um, but my grandfather was kind of what kept me in touch. Listen, in the household, it was the food and the music and the culture and everything. Um, but I had to kind of to connect with my grandfather, I had to speak patois. So I had to, you know, talk to him in a certain way. So he was kind of the one that kept me kept me close to, I would say, the my culture really and Jamaica really.
Yeah, all right. Sounds good. Sounds good. And of course, being in Canada, you would have been exposed to so many different sports. You're talking about the hockey, the lacrosse, track and field, was football the first sport you played growing up, or your like, other sports around you?
Um, yeah, so as you mentioned there, Canada was multiple of sports that you'd play in elementary school and coming up and I had a keen interest in hockey and ice hockey. I loved basketball coming up as well, but I remember the first time I came home and told my uncle I wanted to play ice hockey, and he said no, it's too expensive. So that kind of kicked that one out the window to start off with, and then um I just remember watching football on TV. We had a program there called Soccer Saturday, and you have to wake up early in the morning to watch the Premier League games. And I remember watching Man United, and at that time, they were the big dogs. Watching R9, Ronaldo. Um, so I just fell in love with the game watching it on TV. And then when I started to play, it was my release, because for me, football was, I guess I had a lot of pent up emotions and stuff from leaving my parents and not really knowing why all this had happened. Um, so football for me was the first place I could express myself and feel free. So it just, from all the multiple of sports, it just kind of narrowed down into into one.
Mm. And, the experience of you moving to England when you're 15, 16, how did that come about? Was there a scout that saw you and said there's an opportunity in the UK? How did that come about?
Yeah, so funny enough, my mum was born in England, so I had a UK passport from young, which I was very lucky to have, and but she moved to Jamaica when she was young as well, so she grew up in St. Elizabeth, and my dad was from Westmoreland, so um, the the Jamaica tie was obviously always there, but then um, in that decision to move to England kind of came about through being scouted. I know I was playing at kind of normal level, kind of rep level, and yeah, was getting scouted. As funny enough, the first agent that approached me when I was 12 was actually Dion Burton and Paul Hall's agent. His name was Ed Abrook, and he was living in Oakville, which was near Mississauga. Crazy enough, and I at the time was really going through the Reggae Boys phase. I was in love with that squad that qualified, and your Nandy Lowe's, your Dion Burns, like that was the team coming up. When I was watching qualifiers and stuff, and to then get connected with one of their agents when I was so young was just crazy. And yeah, so I ended up having my first trial for Coventry when I was about 12. Um, so when we got to, that 14, 15 mark, obviously in Canada, there was no professional environment. There was no, way to really progress. You had to go abroad. And luckily I had the passport. So it was a no-brainer really, in terms of it was a family decision, but yeah, one that I just was desperate for and took with both hands, really.
Yeah, there's two moments I would love for you to elaborate on, and it's something that stood out to me growing up as well. One was Gold Cup 2009, and before that, a World Cup qualifier in Kingston. These were like the first opportunities, for you coming up against the country of your birth. So I'd want to know what the experience was like for you. Was it a mixture of emotions? Did the coaching staff ask for your opinion on Jamaica? Just that whole build up in the Gold
Hmm.
Cup in 2009 and also the World Cup qualifiers in '08 as well.
Okay, that first qualifier, I remember flying in, and as soon as we got there, it was a big moment because Jamaica needed to win. Canada had already been knocked out, and it was my first experience coming into it. And I'd always known how big qualifying was in Jamaica from watching the games and stuff on TV and all that. So I knew what we were getting into. But to land and go to hotel and then train, and it was like, oh no, this is serious now, right? And I kind of felt a little bit for Jamaica because I know they needed to win. We had already been out, but I was here to do a job, right? And I just remember going to the stadium and the environment and the music. I think like I can't remember I think who was it, Elephant Man or someone performed at halftime, and I just remember thinking, yeah, this is me, right? So yeah, it was an amazing experience at first when I didn't actually play.
Very nice, very nice. And for you, Simeon, I mean, we know about the distinguished career you had playing professionally, and many persons will be wondering, what are you up to now? What's the next chapter of your life? Is it coaching? Is it punditry, commentary? What's next for you?
Yeah. I mean, I've been getting into the coaching side, so I'm currently taking my A license, and it's something that you look on. I look at as I said, certain players that I've played with who are now in the coaching side and doing punditry, and you always, I think, when you come to the back end of play, and you're always thinking, okay, what avenue do I go down? At the minute, it is the coaching, and hopefully would look to try and get some opportunities, obviously ideally, domestic level at clubs and even internationally from having the experience. So I wouldn't write out, anything in that terms. but yeah, just keep learning, keep enjoying it. You know, it's a big shift, you know, now looking at things with a coaching head. Um, it's a lot different, and I appreciate a lot of the coaches that I've played under and played with, and those experiences. So yeah, you know, for me it's just continual learning, and hopefully be able to get to that level potentially as a manager one day, and see where we end up.